Hey friends, it's been a while since I did a full video. Things got a little nutty over here, but I think it's kind of settled for a bit. So here I am designing myself a hoodie. I decided not to use any pre-made poses this time around. Just wanted to draw it from a reference. I found it on Pinterest. I didn't have the original artist and I'm very sad. Maybe I can find it, but you know how that goes. So I've been seeing a lot of videos about people talking about their art school experiences, the good and the bad, and from many different YouTube artists, and so I thought I could kind of add mine to the collection while I drew something that I was going to stick on a hoodie. And would probably give most art professors a heart attack, because, oh no, the style, it's not realism, it's not ugly. There's just so many things wrong with art school that it's kind of sad. And so some of this goes out to people who are just looking into art school, whether you're just about to graduate or if you're thinking about going back after trying other things. So, I was accepted into a liberal arts college that had an art program, and this was probably my first mistake. I mean, it had a good reputation, had very good artists who were working there as professors, but just the fact that you have to do all these classes that are completely unrelated to your major is just, it's not a great idea. I mean, you should have other classes besides just straight up studio classes, but they should somehow apply to art, and that's where you go to a liberal arts college, you're not going to get any of that whatsoever. My second mistake was not actually listening to the upperclassmen when we got a chance to talk to them. Because right away there was two big red flags. One was they were talking about an average of 2 to 3 all-nighters just to keep up with the art homework alone, not counting their gen eds. But I was like, oh, no, I could do that. You know, silly me. The other thing is when one of the people brought up that they were interested in, anime and manga art, all of the upperclassmen got real quiet, just kind of gave each other a knowing look, and were like, yeah, you're gonna have to stop doing that. That should have been another red flag. I mean, that's a general consensus that I've seen in most of these videos, and I can understand it. But there needs to be some respect for where a lot of people got into art because of these things. At the same time, I also had a high school teacher who I was blessed with who actually explained why she wanted me to stop drawing in anime, because she wanted me to work on accurate anatomy, and then I could, move on. And I kind of stupidly figured that was the case with this as well, but no. Was the idea that you're stealing someone else's art style when, anyone who knows anything about anime and manga knows that there's so many different styles and genres in there, it's just insane. And then I was too far in when I realized one of the biggest mistakes was not really paying attention to what was said about the professors before jumping into the program. One of my professors was an absolute lunatic. He only really seemed to like his own style, which, I mean, there's going to be those people, but, his thing was colorful, non-objective painting. And not a lot of us were into that sort of thing. Most of the up-and-coming artists were looking to be graphic designers or illustrators. Some people were looking into 3D, and I felt bad for them because they were having to do all this 2D stuff, and they were bored to tears. This guy also could not open his own email by himself, but was charged with a class that involved extensive use of Adobe Illustrator and sometimes Photoshop. He basically said just go boot it up and hope for the best, basically. And we learned absolutely nothing from that. And we really learned absolutely nothing from his classes because his feedback was terrible. My roommate, unofficial third roommate, literally showed him a piece, he told her how to fix it, she didn't do anything, left for 15 minutes, came back, and he told her to do the exact opposite. I know sometimes that kind of stuff can be a little subjective, but, to not even realize you'd already said to do the opposite is kind of silly. I mean, you could say, okay, no, I was wrong, go back, but... And this is the guy who developed the first year art boot camp, meant to bring us all to the same level. And so I struggled. I didn't care about drawing giant rag paper and graphite still lifes. You should learn how to draw things accurately, but doing them on I think it was 30 by 48 or even bigger pieces of paper, enormous pieces of paper, all done in graphite, having to be done in 2 weeks, if you were lucky. They were just, it was hideous assignments. I knew I needed to learn the basics, but, like, nothing was very inspired. It was, like, there was only one class I took that I actually enjoyed, and that was more focusing on who you were as an artist. That one was a lot of fun. It was called creative problem solving. We learned who we were. The professor was a performance artist, so it was a very different kind of feel of that class, and he was very passionate about what he did, and so it was enjoyable, like, and he helped us, like, try different things, go beyond what our initial ideas were, things like that, like, stuff you really do need. And none of the other professors could give me a good reason as to why they were doing things the way they were doing, like, why did we do things like this? Why were we doing gigantic still lives in graphite? And there was even one professor, my drawing professor, of all people. He was new, and he had similar misgivings. At one point, just sat us all down and said, okay, do you guys feel like this is a fair program? Do you think you're actually learning anything? And then he told us that he didn't think so. He thought this was a terrible way to do things, and they hadn't even bothered to tell him at what point he needed to have us by the finish of the first semester. They didn't even tell him. How were we supposed to be where we needed to be? It was a mess. So I knew after the first semester, I knew I wasn't going to get into the illustration program, because that was considered like even more advanced program, that we were going to have a portfolio review after the first year, and then you had a second one that you submitted your stuff to if you wanted to get into graphic design or illustration, because they were so popular. So I ended up, after that first year, going to a community college instead that was really close to home. I still had some struggles, but, like, different ones, and most of it was coming to grips with the fact that, like, the professors that I had there, when I told them some of the stuff that we were doing, were horrified. They were absolutely, like, my first year drawing professor at the community college was absolutely horrified that for most of the first semester for drawing, all we did was line work. She's like, the only thing that's good for is abstraction. If you're not learning actual forms, I mean, line art is good to know, but you need to know the forms first. And I told her, we were doing stuff in graphite, and she's like, and the size and stuff, and she just gave me this look like they were torturing us. Like, she was having us do much smaller work in charcoal. So she's like, so you can get it done, and then, keep practicing instead of doing these huge, like, frame-worthy messes. And so a lot of my struggle was just realizing that, like, I learned things, but a lot of it was what not to do. And so I owe a lot to my professors, especially, I'm going to shout out here, Cassie, Susan, and Sharon. Love you ladies, for giving me hope for art again. Like, I was about ready to give up. Unfortunately, even though I was starting to thrive again art-wise, the community college then got rid of my program. I decided at that point in that second year that I was like, I'm going to just focus on my comic art. I'm not trying to get into, like, some fancy art studio. I'm not trying to do, I'm not like, it's not like I'm going to be an animator or, something like that. It's like, that wasn't my goal. So I was like, I'll do this. And then they got rid of the comic program. And I was very sad. So I decided that was the final straw, and I was going to be self-taught from then on. Not everyone should go down this road. It's messy. Progress can be kind of erratic because you're not constantly getting homework assignments, and sometimes you get into a rut and you're just drawing what you want. Like, everything's self-indulgent, and while this is good, you do need to practice. You don't want to kill yourself when you're practicing, but you do need to practice. Like, don't just do practice all the time. I mean, like, this piece that I'm working on right now is, like, 100% for me. I just want to put it on a hoodie. Like, that's why I did it. And hey, I don't have to deal with gen eds anymore. Yay! I mean, with the way the internet is now, there's so much out there for an artist to do, like, so many tutorials from people who've already gone through all this. There's just so much out there for you that there's no reason to not I mean, even if you are in art school, look at other things, because you're going to be learning what those artists can show you. A lot of them aren't even teachers. A lot of college professors are just professionals in their field. And so, like with that loony from the first, the university that I went to, they only know one thing. They know their thing, and they might have, like, the basic, I'm sure they learned the basics, but, like, it's their thing and only their thing, and if you don't do their thing, sometimes they disregard you and your work. This, again, it isn't for everyone. Not everyone has the time or the discipline or needs the structure of a school. Sometimes you just need that. But the same goes for like a college or a university. Like, you don't have to do that. So weigh your options and figure out what works for your situation. And just, as long as you're better today than the day before, you're doing it right. I'd like to give a shout out to Lavender Town for inspiring me to tell this story, because she did this wonderful 2-part video about the kinds of projects she was assigned at her art school. And they blew my mind because they were actually inspiring and made sense to from an artist standpoint. I'll link to her and those videos in the description. Give another look. She's also been one of the people who's inspired me to be on YouTube in the first place. Like, I have a few of those people, and I'm gonna throw out some shout outs in later videos to other people. But definitely give her a look. Her style is so much fun. It's this adorable, cute, but creepy and kind of style. She's done what she calls creepy drawstas, which were awesome, and I love watching those. Just kind of relax. I like the creepy cute. It's a lot of fun. The design in this video is also going to be available on my Redbubble and TeePublic stores. Links will also be in the description as well. Again, however you choose to get your art education, it should work for you. It shouldn't be what everyone else does. And then you can go from doing the educational work, whether you took it in like high school or did some college or adult ed classes, whatever it might be, it can start to look the way you want. That art should be about, you making art should be about that. Like, making it look the way you want. And that's what, like, the art schooling should be about. Is getting you to the point where you can draw your art almost what it's going to be in your head. It'll never look exactly like that. It rarely happens. You're usually going to get about 10 to 20% of that. But as you get better, you just keep getting closer to that. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching this today and, joining in on my shenanigans once more. Bye all!